Hello everyone, this is Mike from Master Pencil Pushing Services. Now I just thought I'd start doing these videos. One, just to tell you more about me, and two, what I can do for you. Now, a little bit of a backstory about me. So, straight from a young age, I had a paper round. Now, anybody that's had a paper round, there's a common myth saying that people who have paper rounds are always going to be successful because they're hard workers, etc. Paper rounds are tough. And they were. I used to do them 7 days a week. So mornings, Monday to Sunday, evenings, Monday to Friday. All for 36 quid a week, I'll add. But that was fine, going through school. A little bit of pocket money. Then I used to use that to buy like cans of pop, crisps, sweets, chocolates, things like that, cigarettes. And I used to take them into school and sell them and make more money. So just turn my 36 quid into like 70, 80 quid every week. Now in school, I was a bit of an idiot, a bit of a rebel, you might say. Now, the reason being is because I was a little bit cocky, a little bit arrogant, because my mother was quite high up in a specific motor insurance company, and I knew I had a job to walk into as soon as I left school, regardless of what my GCSE results were. Now, my overall attendance through high school was 54%. Seriously, 54%. Now, the reason behind that is because year 7 to 9, I was bullied. I don't even know why. Main reason is because I walk with a bit of a, what you'd call a swagger, a bit of a bounce. It's not put on. I literally just have one leg shorter than the other slightly, so it just creates that hard man walk. And the fact I was quite short as well. I'm still only 5'5". I tell people I'm 5'7" because that's what my army papers say. I've shrunk a bit over the years, as you do. So yeah, I had a job as soon as I walked out of school, and I started working as a junior admin, pretty much just in the postal room, and basically just scanning and filing documents accordingly and send them to the relevant claims handlers, just to help push those claims along. Now this is before that the email was a massive thing. Everything was still done by like franking machines and things like that. Now that is where my mindset kind of went wrong a little bit, because I had that secure job straight away. It's not what you know, it's who you know. That was my mentality. But boy, how wrong was I. I still left school with GCSEs, even though teachers thought I weren't going to get any. Fun fact as well, I actually left school in year 10, purely because after the six week summer holidays in from year 9 to 10, I literally snapped. Something in me snapped, and I stopped being bullied. I turned into the bully. Honestly, yeah, I turned into a bit of an asshole. Must be like that puberty stage, and I just snapped, and I got sick of being bullied, and I turned into the bully. But I started bullying the bullies, if that makes sense. And not just in my own school. I used to go to other schools and fight there. Bit of an idiot, I'll put it that way. But I still left with a GNVQ in IT at the pass, which is equivalent to 4 Cs. I got my C's in maths and English, although I had to take the adult numeracy and literacy test, purely because the school thought I wasn't going to get them, so they wanted me to have that as a fallback. And I also got 2 Ds in double award science, which when I was in school, the Ds was lowered and it's considered a pass. Although since then and before that, it was C and above. So I got lucky with that one. And I also got a D in history. All my other GCSEs, I literally just walked in the examination room, wrote my name on them, and walked out. Because that class is you taking the exam. You've written your name on it. If you didn't do that, when I was in school, your parents would get a fine if you didn't sit your exams. So that's what I did. That was my loophole around it. Signed it, walked off, went to the gym. And yeah, I completely screwed up my whole academic start in life, purely because initially I was being bullied, and it just spiraled from there. So yeah, I've digressed anyway. So yeah, I was working, like I said, for a motor insurance company as a junior admin. I worked my way up from a junior admin up to a technical claims handler, dealing with third-party claims and negotiations on liability. Not inclusive of bodily injury though, purely the property aspect of it. And then I got made redundant. Yeah. I was 17 and I got made redundant. Ironically enough though, my own mother knew about it 6 months before and didn't tell me. She knew it was happening. She knew they were going to be closing that branch because they went through a managerial buyout and they wanted to trim some fat. So yeah, they closed the Manchester office down. So yeah, she transferred down to their head office and started working away from home. But unfortunately, that means I had to find something else. So I started a apprenticeship for business admin and customer service, working for a bespoke publication company. Very small scale in terms of operation, but their market base was huge, because the owner is an absolute legend. Except these videos aren't here to name names or anything like that. But let's just say he wrote his own curriculum against the government curriculum, and like even split school years up. Now, the method behind that was because the way school years run, so say like the youngest in the year could be born in, say, what, June, July, but the oldest could have been born to like September. Now, when you're growing up and you're developing, that's a big gap for developmental reasons. So to teach them the same is moronic. So he split it up into stages. So instead of like your 6 junior years, he created, I think it was 9. So it'd have like your nursery reception, then like reception year 1, year 1, year 1, year 2, year 2. You get the gist. And basically you was moved up depending on your abilities. So it's catering to everybody on their life stage, purely because the way the school year is set up, it's set up to make the younger kids more disadvantaged because they've not got that same mental capabilities as their peers that are born earlier on. So we fixed that, and that's why his market base was massive, and schools were buying it left, right, and centre. So anyway, that's what I did to get my NVQ in customer service and business admin. When that ended, I did many roles around the like financial world. You know, back in the days of the old like PPI calling and things like that. I did that just to try and keep money coming in. And then I joined the army. Went through basic training for the Royal Fusiliers, and my cartilage gave out 1 week before passing out, so that put an end to that. I was absolutely gutted, but here we are. As soon as I left the army, again, not what you know, it's who you know, I jumped straight into a full-time job with a certain solicitors that handled insurance contracts on like a white label basis, capturing personal injury information. Win-win, right? And that again, because my mother was a top end manager there. So I did that for quite a while, and then my mother actually resigned. But because it was quite a distance, I think it was like 70 miles away from where we lived, I couldn't stay there because the cost of the commute was too much. It wouldn't have been worth it. So I had to find something else. So then I got a job at a local, I'll say pawnbrokers, but pawnbrokers wasn't the official term. You know the types of the high street ones. To give you some examples, like your cash generators, your cash converters, things like that. So I started working for them in the personal finance sector. So it's a brand new store, and basically I had to build their customer base from zero by cross-selling on the buy-back counter, and that's where people bring their goods in to temporarily sell them for a period of 28 days, and then when they come back, they buy it back with a percentage on top. It's like 30%. Just your standard loan rate, really. And with my finance booth, I was literally selling the payday loan side of it, or personal loans, so 6 months loans or a month loan, and basically learning all the underwriting for loans and doing it all myself. It wasn't done by systems. I had to cross check everything. So taking 3 months worth of bank statements, double check all their IDs, double check wage slips, etc. Go through the bank statements myself to find out any anomalies that went against the criteria of responsible lending. So for example, and a top tip, if a page of your bank statement, one page, has more than 3 gambling transactions, whether that's in or out, instant decline. Because people that are addicted to gambling, they could earn 10 grand a month, but they could also lose that overnight. So loan companies won't touch them, and I didn't, weren't allowed. So yeah, I built that up to about 850 customers by the time I left, 2 years later. And the reason why I left is because I grew a conscience. Now, the bulk of customers were vulnerable. They were vulnerable people. That's why they were coming into stores like that. And we were, in my eyes, exploiting that fact because they were desperate. They needed the money. But in a poverty-stricken town of Oldham, defaults are always going to happen. And you're always going to get blood. You can't get blood from a stone. So to combat my default list, I used to log on manually from home at 2 o'clock in the morning and manually take the payments out myself, because the majority of my customer base were on benefits, and I knew, being in the town of Oldham, exactly what happens. They're at the cash machine at midnight, like between 12 and 2 a.m. taking the money out. So I used to log on at 2 a.m, which was the average time scale for people's money to go in, and I used to take it out myself. And my repayment figures rocketed doing that. Brilliant. Cash on the street was going down, we were making money, etc. The business was loving it. However, I was literally, after doing this, I went across the road to a local shop, which happened to be a 24-hour petrol station with an ATM. And as I was there, I saw one of my customers trying to get money out, but couldn't because I had just taken it. And she broke down in tears, absolutely crying her eyes out. Now, regardless of what she wanted that money for, whether that was for have a couple of drinks or the other stuff, you know, that's not for me to judge. But she brought it down in tears. And this wasn't a one-off either. I used to have people coming into the store, crying their eyes out, asking for me to give them some money back, or if they paid the rest of the loan off, could I give them another one? And yes, I could. Wasn't technically compliant to do so, but this was before the FCA was formed. This was back when it was the FSA, the OFT. The regulations were slightly different, and they weren't as scrupulous. They were less scrupulous than they are now. So yeah, I grew a conscience, And I thought, nah, this isn't for me anymore. I can't do this. I can't sit back and do this. So I jumped ship. I got into debt management, and I started off in lead generation, and I worked my way up to a senior debt specialist. Again, I won't mention any specific company names. And I found that a lot better for the soul. But I also had inside knowledge because I'd been a loan processor before and a loan underwriter, so to speak. I had that knowledge and I had that starting point of seeing the type of customers that I was speaking to and knowing what they went through, knowing what their average incomes were, what benefits they were on, what days they got paid, etc. I had that knowledge already, so I was able to apply that to then build up my leads in debt management. Now, a lot of the leads that we was calling through were people that applied for a loan online but got declined, probably because they got bad credit, hence they've got debts. So we was calling that to basically try and switch it from a loan application to a non-loan financial resolution, such as like a debt management plan, IVA, even bankruptcies. IVAs were the goal because they were the big money earners. I think the company used to earn 500 quid for everyone that we packaged up in a nice little red ribbon and sold to an IFA. And that was brilliant. That was good. However, like I said, it was before the FCA was formed, so there was a lot of cowboy companies out there just in it for the money. So I was constantly jumping ship because the companies were shut, closed themselves down, rebranding, reopening, blah blah blah. It was a nightmare. So there was a lot of job hopping within that period of time. And a lot of companies completely just got taken out of the water because of the FCA was formed and they could not be compliant. So they had no option but to shut up shop. Now, the FCA was the best thing that ever happened to the financial industry, and I'll always be grateful for it. Now, when that period of my life stopped, I got sick of working for people in general and the constant job hopping. So when I was unemployed, this was in 2017, I went through the job centre for it was a scheme. I forgot the name of it now, but basically it was to help people who got an entrepreneurial idea and turn it into a reality. So basically help them become self-employed and work on a business plan, etc. So I did that. Now, I will mention my own company name. So I was trained under a name of Paulicious Foods. Now, this was with the intention of selling bespoke raw pet foods for cats and dogs. Very, very niche at the time. There wasn't much awareness at all. Thankfully, because of social media getting so big and everyone's using it, the knowledge and awareness for free is getting out there. It's brilliant. However, my business just didn't last long enough because it was in, like I said, poverty town, and people just rather chuck their dog a bag of cheap dog biscuits, which isn't that great. But yeah, just I had all the idea, all the gear, but not the right market space for it. Simple as that. So it failed. I was like 4 months in, which I don't let faze me at all. Whilst I was running that, I met a partner, and not long after she fell pregnant. But because of where she lived, there was quite bad. There was really bad with mold and stuff. So I was like, well, my daughter's not living here, get them to fix it. So she complained, blah blah blah, with my help, and instead of fixing it, he basically just said, yeah, here's section 21. I'm selling it. It's easier for me to just sell it and cut my losses. So she had 8 weeks to then get somewhere else, and the only option was the local authority said, well, you're not from around here. All your connections are down south, so in Eastbourne. So they said, declare yourself homeless down there. So that's what she did. But I obviously didn't want my daughter being 300 miles away without me, so I up sticks and moved. luckily enough, I still had some connections within the insurance world, and a particular insurance company that I was working for up in Manchester, the head office was down on the southeast coast. So I rang them. I said, "Have you got anything like available?" And luckily enough, they did. They were taking on 4 in their ethanol centre. So straight away, I came down, started working. Whilst going through the whole hostel situation type thing, temporary accommodation for young families. I was in there for 3 months. Whilst working, it was probably the hardest 3 months of my life, given the fact that my daughter was 6 months old at the time. Now, you know the type of people are also in hostels, do you know what I mean? Lifestyles clash, put it that way. That's quite often I had to like push my daughter through like a big cloud of fucking cannabis smoke. Excuse my language. And yeah, after 3 months we got a flat, and I'm still working for this specific insurance company, doing very well. Life's good, brilliant. And then move from the ethanol side of it into case handling, and also touching on credit hire as well. Now, COVID hit 2020, and everyone went to home working, government guidelines. Now, within that world, you take a lot of abuse on the phone in general when people aren't happy. Now, with COVID also closing garages down, which meant repairs taking longer, etc., people was obviously getting more angry and frustrated and taking it out on us. So I was at home in my little makeshift office, literally an electric cupboard that they just pulled everything out and put a little tiny disc in there. So I was like, this more sedate. And after about 2 months of doing that, I had enough of it. I thought, screw this. So I jumped ship. However, I'd already set up my own business on the side, around canine nutrition again, and dog walking, training and pet sitting. And that was doing quite well. It was getting to a point where I could take a wage out of it. So I did that. I jumped ship straight into my own business, went full time into my own business and started growing it. Got myself a little office and started growing. But then the money wasn't as good as it was working for the insurance company. And that put a lot of financial strain on the relationship at the time. And as you know, typical man, provider, financial responsibilities tend to fall on our shoulders. But it's not always like that. It's simply because it's our mentality. It's we're the providers. Do you know what I mean? It's just how we think. So that financial burden hits us hard. So then I had to get a job back in insurance whilst working in my own business. So I started working for a contents insurance company locally, which is doing all right. But then because of all the stresses and stuff, and as you know previously through other video that I've put on, I've always struggled with the whole drinky, suffering with binge drinking, ridiculous amounts, like dangerous levels, developing psychosis and stuff. Now that combined with financial issues, it was enough to break the relationship. And my son was actually born in March of 22. And when he was 3 months old, I had to relocate and I moved back to Manchester. And I spent 8 months working as a service coordinator for a fire and security company. But it was the hardest 8 months of my life, being away from my kids, not seeing them regularly enough. And the cost of coming down every month to spend time with them, it was just ridiculous. So I managed to patch things up. Came back down. Temporarily lived together as friends until I could afford my own place. But yeah, we kind of rekindled. And I stopped my drinking as much. When I came back down, I was the best dad ever, because I'd missed him for so long. I was doing everything. I was like the perfect person. But then after like a month, novelty wears off and you slip into your old ways a little bit. But yeah, I spent like a month unemployed. Started doing freelance work, just like web content management, just to try and keep money coming in. And then I got a job for a local, I won't call it a casino because they're not, a casino experience. You know, the digital places, pretty much like adult arcades. They have the machines for the games, like your fishing frenzy and things like that. And I was working with them as a customer service assistant. I worked my way up to a relief supervisor, so that's a key holder. Now, this particular one also had a sunbed shop upstairs, like a separate business, but run by the same staff for the same wages. And it was 24 hour. Well, this particular job was night shifts, which I loved because I could earn money whilst my kids slept, and I saw them even more. It was brilliant. But then again, a year in, conscience kicks in. I got tired of seeing people ruining their lives through gambling. No matter how much you tried to signpost them and help them and things like that, it wasn't enough. I had full-grown men built like brick houses, bursting into tears, scared to go home to their wives because they've just spent the mortgage money on a machine. So I just had enough of it. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it at all. So this is 24. I stopped that job, and I needed something else to do. But I wanted something completely different to do, so I got into being a support worker. Now this was to help people in a supported living environment, basically be more independent and regain control of their own lives and not let their labels affect them or restrict them, etc. Which was brilliant. I did that for 6 months, but unfortunately they had to let me go because there was a meds error. Now, it wasn't that bad at all, but they had to safeguard themselves from the CQC licensing and things like that. And I was still on probation, so off I went. I hold no bad grudges about it at all. I totally understand it from a business perspective. They have to safeguard themselves. I'm just grateful it wasn't a potentially fatal meds error, which it could have been, but it wasn't. It was just a slight overdose because of an oversight on the administration charts, and down to a language barrier between myself and another colleague. I thought he said he hadn't given them when it turns out that he had, and then I give them as well. So yeah, double dose. Non-fatal though. Either way, yeah, they let me go because of it. So then I was looking for another 3 weeks in to get another job. So I thought I've got to go back into what I know. So I went back into insurance. Now this is working in buildings insurance. Now this was brilliant. Round the corner, literally 5 minutes on a bike, perfect. And I've got a lot of transferable skills. However, it turns out that it wasn't claims handling as such, it was more project management. Now this is something that I've not had much experience in at all, to the point I'd rather say I've got no experience in it. So I was learning quite quickly something completely new to me. Now this was managing restoration claims for domestic properties that have been through fires, escape of waters, floods, things like that. And I don't even do DIY. Do you know what I mean? I buy the display model because I don't do flat packs. I'm that type of guy. I'm a pencil pusher. That's my niche. I'm not handsy. I don't build. But I had to try and tell tradies what to do and how to do their job. Mental. But I also had to manage the whole of the southeast. One, with not enough traders in the first place. Two, with a lot of claim volume coming in that couldn't manage. All trying to learn the job itself. And it just got too much. The anxiety of going back into the office was just astronomical. The anxiety stopped me sleeping because I was trying to slow down time to not be back in. And after about 3 weeks of this process of just destroying my own mental health and well-being, I was like, nah, I'm in my probation, I'm off, here's my notice, see you later, bye bye. And that's where I am now. Basically unemployed on a PAYE basis, because the job market is so rough. I did not realise how hard it is right now, or I'd probably try to still stick it out and wing it and just destroy my mental health some more just for the money. But yeah, this is where I am now. So I thought, you know what, if the jobs aren't there and all you're getting is constant rejections for whatever reason, and now my biggest reason for this, I think, again, just my view, is if you're coming from a non-degree background and you've worked yourself up from entry level up to, say, here, through climbing the ladder internally and developed all this experience and skill set, you're again applying for another entry level job because you have to, because a lot of people won't take on anything above entry level without a degree, which I don't have. So yeah, you're applying here for jobs here. However, your interview person is here. You've previously been above them. So straight away, they're seeing you as a threat to their own career path. You could do their job better than they can, type of thing. So they safeguard themselves and don't give you the job. Makes sense, right? I'd probably do the same if I was that way inclined. It makes sense. So yeah, I was struggling to get a job, constant rejections, blah blah blah. So I thought, sod it. I've got all this experience of office work in regulated industries, and I'm great at what I do. I love a spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are my happy place. So I thought, sod it, let's dive into freelancing. And all my life, I was always ridiculed for being a pencil pusher because I'm not handsy at all. All my mates were went into trades and stuff to do manly jobs, and I always got the mickey taken out of me because I was a pencil pusher. Soft hands, never done a hard day's work in life, blah blah blah. You know the type. But then I got to a point, you know what? Every time they're struggling with administrational stuff, it's me they reach out to because I'm the pencil pusher. It's my help that they need. So you know, I own it now. I own it, and I do label myself as a master pencil pusher because I am bloody good at it. So no matter what it is, whether that's simple, just email management, complaint handling, simply keeping an eye on social media comments and responding to them, basic social media content just for fillers. Now this isn't from an advanced level where marketing's involved because that's not my area at all. There's a lot of psychology and things like that goes into marketing and making content to suit it. And that just isn't me. That's not my criteria at all. By all means, I'd work with people that are to help tailor my own services, but no, that's just not something that I can do. And I'd be lying if I said I could, because I'd be winging it. And that's not fair to you or me. So yeah, it's something that is completely different. So, but basic images, just to go with a bit of a bit of text, that's fine. I can do that, not a problem. Basic website management as well. Yeah, I've built my own websites on Wix and WordPress, things like that. So things like I can do. I don't code at all, although I am learning how to do Python, which is really confusing for me. It's like trying to teach a dinosaur new tricks. But I'm getting there slowly. And I'm also teaching myself how to do digital art so I can make my own images, and so you don't run the risk of infringing on copyright and things like that. And because that's always a risk when you're doing online content. If you're getting images from elsewhere, you don't know if they're protected or not. So yeah, that's about me. Now, in the next videos coming up, I'll start to go into the services that I offer and what I can do to help you. So yeah, just let me know if you want to know more, anything specific, if you've got any areas of your business that you're struggling with that you want to help with, but you can't afford to hire somebody part-time or full-time. I literally can and will be your solution. I am cost effective. Now, if the invoices are paid up front, then my rates start from £15 an hour. Now, if you want them on like a credit basis, then they start at £20 an hour. It just makes sense, right? you save money by paying up front. Just makes sense. So yeah, give me a shout. So it's Master Pencil Pushing Services. Now I'm only putting this on LinkedIn at the moment and building it up from there, and also the YouTube channel. I'm currently working on an app, building it myself with AI support, and a website at the moment. It's not cost effective at all because LinkedIn and the app will do everything I need it to do for now. Until I want to scale it up and maybe employ other people to help me out, it's just not worth it. But yeah, I hope you like the video, and please just subscribe and follow. Cheers.